this most historic of standoffs over who will be the next Speaker of the US House of Representatives, who will be the next Republican Speaker, to complete the party's takeover of the House after its success in the midterm elections in November, initially started out with an element of enjoyable theatre. But as the hours and days wear on with no resolution, there's growing concern among lawmakers on both sides of the aisle over the security implications for this. Some of those lawmakers are concerned that they've been excluded from briefings involving national security because they haven't got the clearance yet, because they haven't been officially sworn in as lawmakers. Until a speaker is elected, they can't do that. Others are more concerned with the day-to-day running of government, with heading up various committees in the House of Representatives, and there's concern among some lawmakers over whether they and their staff can be paid, with the office in charge of this in the House of Representatives saying until they get some clear guidelines on who will be the next Speaker, they may not make the payroll deadline on January the 13th. And looming in all of this is the prospect of another government shutdown. There have been several of them over the past decade or so it's a familiar sight to many people who watch Washington, D.C. politics. There's huge amounts of money at stake here. These lawmakers in the weeks to come have to agree on raising the debt ceiling. That's effectively agreeing to let the ever-growing US national debt pile grow just a little bit more so the business of government can carry on functioning and various agencies can be financed. All of this, of course, as the US in the last 12 months, amid rampant inflation, has already flirted with a recession. Owen Fairclough, CGTN, Washington.
Now, to discuss this, we have independent political and economic affairs commentator Ina Tangen. Welcome to Global Watch, Ina. So this is the first time in 100 years in the US that the House has failed to elect a speaker after multiple rounds. So what's really keeping Kevin McCarthy from becoming the speaker? Is the voting personal preferences driven, or political ideas or policy driven?
Okay, well, it's actually been 164 years. There's been nothing like this since the Civil War. So at this juncture, it's being motivated by the outside. It's completely ideological. Some of it is personal, but in terms of keeping this group of 20 or so Republicans who refuse to vote in favor of McCarthy, you basically have the fringe trying to rule the middle. The U.S. is famous for its democracy, which is supposed to push both sides towards the middle. But right now, they had that stark image of AOC, who was famous for being on the left-hand side of the Democratic Party, talking to Representative Gomert, who's on the far right. Very strange juxtaposition, but it shows that the fringes really want to control the middle.
Mm-hmm. Then what happens if there is no speaker?
Well, there's going to have to be a speaker at some point. I mean, all the things that were included in your report, the debt ceiling, payment of these officials, et cetera, this will push them in. But, the U.S. is used to governing by crisis. And right now, people are waiting for something to emerge which will push them into some sort of compromise. The best thing that could happen is if some Democrats would get together with centrist Democrats, with centrist Republicans, and say, look, it's time to reject the fringe elements on both sides of the party and start governing reasonably. But the politics argues against that because you have a presidential election coming up. So the question is, will they get to that point? Will the crisis be big enough? For instance, the debt ceiling. Also, remember, these guys, without pay, it'll hurt them personally. So that might also be a factor in why they come to the table.
Right. And what we are seeing now is a faction of House Republicans spending days blocking McCarthy. But what can we read from that phenomenon? Is this revealing some kind of division in the GOP?
Oh, absolutely. Very stark. You have the Freedom Caucus, which is being, way out there on the right-hand fringe. They're pushing this kind of libertarian idea that one person can call for the speaker's a vote of confidence in the speaker. And that's ridiculous. The whole point about politics is that you have to compromise. So if one person is unhappy, that's going to throw a complete logjam into the system. Right now, it's you have to have a majority of people saying that they want to have a vote of confidence. Right now, McCarthy is saying, he was saying 5 people have to come to do it. Now he's throwing out there there'll be 1. It's doubtful right now that Kevin McCarthy can prevail. There probably will be some sort of compromise candidate. Unfortunately, with McCarthy, pretty much what you're getting. Compromise candidate, you won't. But this is the way American politics go. One crisis to the next. Let's choose the unknown over what we know.
All right, thank you very much. We'll keep observing what's happening at the Capitol Hill indeed. Thank you very much. Aina Tangen, independent economic affairs commentator.